Hey Marvin, I'm going to respond throughout the video so I can explain properly, otherwise my hands are taking away a lot. I'm sorry to hear for your back again. Let me know what it is. I'm still a little bit sick. Um, Let me see. With the macro change in the ratio, I think it's a good thing if you want to do that. The thing is that you are not considered a high fat intake. You are not considered someone that is taking a very high fat diet in terms of your caloric intake, because you're right now at 27% of your caloric intake is just coming from fat, and above 35% we are actually seeing someone as being a high fat intake. So that in your case, in your caloric intake, that would mean that you must be taking in 160 grams of fats, which is not the case. So I want you just to make clear that the reasoning behind changing the ratio is not coming from the fact that you are taking too much fat. What we can do is try to manipulate fat, so drop it down, um, and boost our carbohydrates. Now, we know from previous weeks or previous cooperation with us that you have a hard time digesting the food because it was way too much, and that was the case with the carbohydrate intake. You threw up and all that stuff, so that was also the reason why we increased the fat intake. So if we would drop fats, boost your carbohydrates up, that would mean that if we are dropping 30 grams of fat, we are probably increase your carbohydrate with 70 to 80 grams. So we are ending up with 580 grams of fat. Um, and I think that you are still hitting up with that carbohydrate intake, especially with a vegan diet with a high fiber content, that you are throwing up even more. Okay, because at that particular time you were not vegan, so the fiber intake at that particular time was way less, and this is what I think. Because right now you have more whole food, more fiber because of the vegan diet, and so I want you to that it makes sense to you why I would not suggest you to drop your fats and increase your carbohydrate. So instead of that, we can drop your fat to 90 grams and just leave it as it is and leave the carbohydrate as it is. So this means actually a lower fat intake only and a lower calorie intake. But what I want to suggest you is that we are going to look for 2 weeks, test out the maintenance that we have right now. So before you're getting into a contest preparation or what, so that we know the calories that you're taking in, how much that is, and how much that we can expect when we need to start from to start your contest preparation. So what I suggest actually is a mini cut. So it's a mini cut. It's like 4 to 6 weeks. We just go trying to go in a caloric deficit, trying to find it, and once we know it, then we would make a point, and maybe you're shredding some fat very quick. That's also possible, which is a good thing. And then we can start off increasing again a little bit. The 1 gram per fat per kilogram is more than okay. Well, it depends, of course. Every individual is different, so it's not just black and white stuff. Like in your case, if you're needing the calories, to gain. But if you're not handling the carbohydrates constantly, we need to boost up your fat intake, because that's twice the energy, and yeah, fat is in almost very tiny food. Okay. You've read the surplus of calories and that calories came mostly from fat. that the body can transform fat macros to body fat really easily, like 101. I'm curious which article it is, so if you know that, please send it to me. I will look into it. What I do know is that whether if you are in a caloric surplus, um, first of all, your thing is not very specified. So coming mostly from fat, how much is that? Is that a 20% protein intake and an 80% fat intake? So I don't know what the ranges you're or is standing in that particular article. But what I do know is that at any given point, whether you are in a caloric deficit, so if we are shredding down, when you're eating food, at that particular moment that you are eating food, you are actually storing it. This would also mean that the fat that goes with it goes into the body and gets stored. But just this is just one little moment, because the 3, 4, or 5 hours later after that meal, that particular fat that is stored is already been released for energy, and it's gone. And that's the thing that people often say is, yeah, but it stores fat more fast. Yeah, that could be true, but they are just looking for that particular moment, and you have to look at 24 hours a whole day long. So that in particular to your piece of reading. Yeah, I think this was it. Let me know what the X-ray is telling you, and let's see. Yeah, let me know if you are wanting to get into the mini cut. Peace, man.